In our course, we'll consider three major drivers of human change, and we'll study the interconnectedness of these three drivers of change. These three factors that I will focus on are physical geography, that is how geography shapes society and economy; technology, or the tools and know-how that we have for producing things or managing enterprises or developing new goods and services to serve human needs and wants. And third is institutions, patterns of cooperation, for example, how our governments operate or how our cultural institutions are formed and operate, because it is the interaction of physical geography, technologies, and institutions that shape our societies. And it is changes in the physical environment or physical geography, in technology, and in human institutions that can help us to understand the complexities of history. It is the interaction of these three basic factors that will help us to understand how each age of globalization was transformed into the next age. What were the underlying forces that led from the Paleolithic or first age of globalization to the Neolithic or the second age of globalization, and so on? The interaction of physical geography, of technology, and of human institutions will be our framework of understanding. And this framework, I think, will become quite helpful as we consider our own seventh age, which we'll call the digital age, to understand what is shaping world society today. Because it is physical geography and environmental change on the one hand, modern technology, especially digital technologies today, and human institutions. For example, the role of global institutions such as the United Nations, something new in human history that is helping to orient or shape the way we live and the way we can build the future we're seeking in the 21st century. Now, this is a lot to consider, all of these different factors. And of course, there's nothing simple about societal change. But what I want us to consider in our classes, and what I want you to consider in the way your own societies are changing, is the interaction of these main forces, because understanding their interplay helps us to escape from rather simplistic ideas. Either the idea that there's no such thing as change, that the world as it is today is the world as it's always been and will be, completely false, or that there is one single factor that drives global change, whether it is ideas or ideology or politics or global warming or some other single driver, because that leads us to an overly simplistic view of what is really happening in our societies. So we will consider each of these main drivers of change in some detail, because each one, the physical geography, the technologies, and the institutions themselves are broad categories that involve many, many dimensions that are extremely important for how societies function and for how societies change. When we consider geographical conditions, for example, what does physical geography entail? Lots of things. First, our societies in different parts of the world are strongly affected by climate, for example. Some places are hot, some places are always cold, Some places have climates that have 4 full seasons change throughout the year. This has enormous effects on how we live and how economies function. Another physical geographic aspect that shapes societies is topography. Do you live at the coast? Are you in a city on a coastline? Do you live in the mountains? Do you live on great plains? Well, this will shape how your country's history has unfolded, how your society has unfolded. So the physical topography is a major shaper of physical geography. Also, what's under the ground in your country? Are you a place where if you drill, you will find coal or oil or natural gas or not? The presence or absence of critical minerals, of fossil fuels, or of copper, or of diamonds, or today of the minerals that will shape the renewable energies of the future, such as cobalt or lithium or rare earth minerals, dramatically shape economic life and geopolitics. If you happen to live in a place with very valuable minerals, well, that can mean great wealth, or it can mean war everywhere because everyone is coming to invade or trying to take over those resources. So climate, topography, mineral holdings, proximity to trade routes, whether overland trade routes like the Silk Roads of the ancient past or the modern times, or the navigation channels for international trade, dramatically shape economies and societies. When it comes to technology, of course, technology is a big word with lots of meanings, and we can think about how know-how, how our tools, our knowledge, our science, our engineering shapes crucial dimensions of our lives. Growing food, of course, is one part of technology. Hunting and gathering is, of course, a technology that was mastered by humanity tens of thousands of years ago. Farming, permanent cultivation, was in a way discovered and then developed in the second age of globalization. The knowledge of domestication of other animal species, whether man's best friend, so-called, the dog, which was domesticated probably more than 10,000 years ago, or the domestication of the horse a few thousand years ago, reshaped society tremendously. But when we think about technology, we should think about every major part of our economic life. How we grow food, the materials that are used for building, the sources of energy. Crucially, the ways that information is managed and stored and transmitted. Inventions such as the book or paper, of course, of the computer and digital storage of knowledge are all profoundly transformative technologies that have shaped the ages of globalization. And when it comes to institutions, which are the patterns of human life, the division of labor in society, the patterns of ways that men and women have interacted or divided work over time, gender inequalities or gender-based roles in society, the roles of philosophical ideas and religious ideas in shaping life. These are all part of our institutions. So politics, religion, the division of labor in society, hierarchies, inequalities, discrimination are all patterns of institutional life. And these, of course, shape societies powerfully. So what we will see in the course of our exploration of the 7 ages of globalization is that physical geography, technological know-how, and human institutions interact, change, and by their change create fundamental changes in how we live, how we survive, how we prosper, and sometimes how we go to war. But all of this will be our way of understanding human change over time and our way to help us understand the challenges and the solutions for the 21st century.